By this weekend, there is a potential that severe weather will develop in the Midwest, Southeast, and potentially the East Coast. If we were to take a look at the latest depiction of the GFS model, we're going to have this trough that's going to move eastward. That's going to bring plenty of cold air behind it. That's going to interact with the record-breaking warm temperatures located in the eastern portion of the United States, where temperatures in portions of the Northeast could reach the upper 80s, which will be near record-breaking, and the Southeast will get involved with these much warmer than average temperatures as well. And those warm temperatures interacting with the very cool Arctic air right behind this trough will create a recipe for a significant severe weather threat to develop by this weekend. And moving forward with the forecast, we see that by the Wednesday timeframe, the trough should be just north of the Canadian and United States border. But moving forward, we're eventually going to see this second trough move towards the Rocky Mountain ranges, and we're going to see a pretty large area of snow throughout Montana by the Thursday timeframe. And you see that there's a strong pressure gradient between this ridge and this low, which is the reason why that right around Thursday and Friday, the temperatures should be 10 to 20 degrees above average. And that's when the peak of this sort of April heat wave should occur, where temperatures should hover right around the upper 80s in the northern portions of the United States. But moving forward with the forecast, we see that the pressure of this storm system is hovering around 990 millibars, which is enough to bring at least some gusty winds right around the Midwest. And won't necessarily bring extremely gusty winds, but will be enough to at least notice it. And of course, associated with thunderstorms that will be developing with this trough, there will be damaging winds as well, thanks to the lower pressure along the surface. But moving forward, we're going to see that the convection will increase. We're going to see a large area of rain develop anywhere between Missouri, Iowa, and Minnesota. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these thunderstorms will be severe. And we're going to see more severe thunderstorms develop closer to the southeast, where potentially the eastern areas as far west as Texas could get involved. And there is a possibility that Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas could get involved with the worst of the severe weather, where the instability will be at its highest, and we're going to see the convective available potential energy levels at its highest right around the southeast. So that should enhance the possibility of a significant severe weather threat developing, where damaging winds, large hail, and of course tornadoes could be a possibility. We do see that thunderstorms should develop right around Louisiana by the Saturday timeframe. I'll say that for much of the Mississippi River Valley, the worst of the severe weather should occur on the right around the Saturday timeframe. And we see that with the low pressure system just to the north of it, we see very heavy snowfall, as well as a pretty major Arctic blast right behind this trough, as a result of the strong northwesterly winds that this low pressure system is bringing to the Midwest. And this cold air is expected to move eastward as we approach next week. But moving forward, continuing on with the forecast, we do see that these thunder showers linger around throughout Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi for quite a while, even into the Sunday timeframe. So there, of course, is a possibility of flash flooding. The steering flow will be very weak the further south you go, where where these areas of thunder showers should be separated from the stronger westerly jet stream winds, so where an upper level low could develop, and that would mean that the rain would linger over the same area for a more prolonged period. So you need to watch out for that possibility in southeastern Texas as well as Louisiana. But moving forward, we do see that this rain will eventually move into the northeast. And what's interesting is that we do see a pretty powerful squall line move through the northeast by this weekend, as the instability will be extremely high at this point. We see, because of course, like I've been saying, the temperatures will be close to record breaking when it comes to warmth in the northeast. Temperatures right around the 80s, and that's going to interact with temperatures that are going to hover around the 40s to 30s in the northern Midwest, where we see just a strong amount of instability existing in this area. So we could see just enough convective available potential energy in the northeast for potentially a severe squall line to develop. We're going to need to pay close attention if this actually comes for fruition, because we are going 6 days out with this forecast. However, compared to yesterday's run, I will say that the GFS model and the European model are much more in line when it comes to the position they want to bring the jet stream to, by late this week into early next week, where both of them are showing a much more similar scenario at this point, where the European model isn't expecting as much cold air to be right behind this trough, and is expecting the cold air to be more in line with what the GFS model has been stating over the past several runs. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And so the certainty is certainly higher for a storm system like this, with both of the computer models in pretty good agreement. So I will say that more likely than not, there will at least be some severe weather event in the Midwest. And I wouldn't say it'll necessarily be extreme, this severe weather threat, but it will certainly exist. We could see potentially moderate severe weather from this trough, but I think that the worst of severe weather should occur in the southeast as we approach the weekend. So keep that in mind, and we could even see that severe weather extend to the northeast. We're just going to need to wait and see how the temperatures will be as we approach late next week. But I'll keep you guys updated over the next several days. And of course, behind this, pay close attention to the much cooler than average conditions located just to the west of this trough, and we could see some lake effect snow from this, so keep that in mind as well. Now let me show you guys the European model's forecast. The European model at this point in time is much more similar to the GFS model than it was ever before. Now moving forward with the forecast, we do see that the trough isn't as far south as the European model initially anticipated, because the European model wanted to bring snow as far south as Texas and potentially Oklahoma, but it has definitely shifted away from that scenario, and it's suddenly a lot closer to the GFS model scenario. So we could see the European model cave more and more to what the GFS model is stating, but we still do see severe weather, especially in the southeast, where we do see severe thunderstorms develop, because the instability will still increase as the storm continues to head further eastward, and we still do see a large area of thunder showers develop right in front of this Arctic blast. So we're going to need to pay close attention to this in the northeast, not only for the potential of severe weather, but potentially heavy rain as well. Strong winds could be a possibility with instability this strong, and we're going to see a little bit of a negative tilt. So so the convection should be a little bit higher as this approaches the northeast, as the instability will certainly peak at its max, and we're going to see the pressure drop to the low 990s as this approaches eastern Canada. So we're going to need to pay close attention to this. But at this point, I will say that the Mississippi River Valley will likely experience a severe weather threat. It really is uncertain how exactly the magnitude of how severe this will be. We're still 5 days out with the forecast. There still could easily be much more cold air behind this trough than what the computer models are currently anticipating. But with the European model now in higher agreement to what the GFS model is stating, the certainty that this scenario, or a scenario very similar to this, will occur is certainly more likely, but it's far from factual at this point. So make sure to stay tuned, because we could still easily see the severe weather become more severe, but at least some sort of severe weather will exist right around Mississippi River Valley and potentially the East Coast. So keep that in mind and stay prepared as we approach the weekend. Taking a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly that the European model is showing at this time, we do see that by the time we approach the Saturday time frame, where the center of circulation is located right in between the border of North Dakota and Montana in terms of latitude, we do see a decent amount of cold air surrounding this trough, and we do see just a slight jet stream dip that will just bring just enough instability for a severe weather threat to develop in the Midwest. However, it's nowhere near the amount of cold air, and the cold air isn't anywhere near as far south for the severe weather threat to be as severe as the European model initially anticipated just a couple of model runs ago. But we're still early in the forecasts. It's still early when it comes to forecasting this storm system. We're still around 5 days out, so we could still easily see that change where the severe weather could potentially be more impactful. But with the European model being more in line with the GFS model, the certainty that this will be a moderate severe weather threat is definitely higher than, let's say, this will be an extreme severe weather threat. But still a lot could change from now up until Saturday. Taking a look at the GFS's model scenario, and what's interesting is that the GFS model was initially more conservative when it came to the amount of instability that will exist right around the Mississippi River Valley, at least in comparison to what the European model is stating. But now it seems like the GFS model is forecasting slightly more instability than what the European model is stating at this time. So the severe weather threat should be more noticeable in the GFS model scenario, as we do see that the isobars go in nearly a more vertical direction, which represents a higher level of instability. So I will say that severe weather is likely this weekend right around the Mississippi River Valley, but I'll keep you guys updated regarding the magnitude of how severe this threat will be. Another thing I want to show you guys is the amount of rainfall forecasted, and the reason why I want to show you this is because the Southeast is expecting a heavy amount of rain over the next 5 days, whereas southern Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama could experience easily over 3 inches of rain, right around 3 to 5 inches of rain over the next 5 days. And this rain should stay over the same area for a prolonged period, so flash flooding certainly isn't out of the realm of possibility. So make sure to pay close attention to that if you're in the Southeast over the next 5 days, as the rain should be very heavy and prolonged over that area. So here's my general forecast when it comes to the next potential tornado outbreak. So the worst of severe weather could potentially be just east of the Mississippi River Valley, and I wouldn't be surprised if that moves towards the northeast. And temperatures, like I said, could be much warmer than average for much of the northeast coast, and we could see an Arctic blast right behind this this trough as it continues to move eastward, where we could see temperatures drop into the 30s in the upper Midwest. And when it comes to this heat wave over the next 5 days, the worst of the temperatures should occur anywhere between Thursday and Friday. That's where you should experience temperatures right in between the upper 80s to low 90s in the Southeast, which will be much warmer than average for the month of April. So keep that in mind as well. But I thank you guys for watching.